I thought I was ready for Alaska. I had the excursions booked, the gear packed, and enough cruise experience to think I knew what to expect. But I didn't. Because Alaska has a way of humbling you fast. The weather changes everything, the best moments happen without warning, and some of the things I thought mattered the most didn't matter much at all. I thought I was ready for Alaska, but I was wrong. Alaska is one of the most unforgettable cruise destinations in the world, but it also comes with more variables, more surprises, and a lot more ways for your expectations to get flipped upside down. So if you're planning a cruise up north, this video is going to give you a huge head start by showing you the kind of things that don't show up in brochures or packing lists, because I didn't fully understand them myself until we were already there. And you'll walk away knowing what matters more than you think, what matters less than you expect, and what most people don't realize until they experience Alaska for themselves. Oh, and if we haven't met yet, I'm Evan from Family at Sea. If this is your first time watching my channel, I'm glad you're here. And if you've been here a while, well, you already know how much I appreciate you. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. It's easy to get sucked in by the bells and whistles. We saw the big name, the flashy amenities, and the headline shows and thought, well, the Norwegian Encore would be perfect. But Alaska taught me pretty quickly that this is not a ship-first destination. It's an itinerary-first experience. Because once we got there, we realized some of the things we cared most about before the cruise ended up mattering way less than we expected. Things like water slides, go-karts, and giant outdoor decks suddenly didn't feel nearly as important when it was cold, rainy, and we were spending most of our time focused on the scenery outside the ship instead of the attractions on board. If I could go back, I'd let the itinerary lead the decision and treat the ship as the supporting act instead of the headliner. A lot of Alaska cruises look like a steal in May or September. Before our first cruise, I almost booked one of those cheaper sailings thinking, well, Alaska is Alaska no matter when you go. But I underestimated how much the weather changes the experience. Now, to be fair, Alaska weather is a complete crapshoot no matter when you go. It's literally a rainforest. You can sail in July and still get rain, fog, and cold temperatures. But peak season at least gives you better odds, because when the weather turns in Alaska, everything changes. Excursions get canceled, glacier views disappear behind fog, and ports feel completely different when it's cold and rainy. So after looking at the trade-offs, we changed our sailing to mid-July. It cost more, but for a once-in-a-lifetime trip like Alaska, I'd rather have better odds of getting the experience we're actually hoping for than to save a few $100s. Flying in the day before your cruise might work in the Caribbean, where there are nonstop flights everywhere and you're usually dealing with a much simpler travel day. But Alaska made me realize how little margin for error we actually had. The flights are longer, the time zone shifts are bigger, and if something goes wrong, there often aren't many backup options. In fact, on our first Alaska cruise, a major airline IT outage caused over 100 people to miss the first 2 days of the trip entirely. We made it, but barely, and even then we were exhausted before the cruise even started. And if I were doing it again, I'd make sure to fly in at least 2 days early without hesitation. Because Alaska taught me pretty quickly that getting there is part of the trip too, and giving yourself extra margin can be the difference between starting your vacation excited or stressed out before you even board the ship. And that's exactly why we booked through Cruises It. Instead of guessing, you're working with people who actually understand the ships, the timing, and how all these little decisions change your experience once you're on board. They've helped us save money, avoid bad cabin choices, and make sure we're actually getting the kind of trip we're hoping for, not just what looks good on paper. Which is more than I can say for Frank, who once told me, Evan, I don't need a travel agent, I'll just fly in the night before. What's the worst that could happen? Frank, you spent your embarkation day sleeping on the airport floor, eating a $14 cold turkey sandwich while your cruise sailed Alaska without you. With their low price guarantee and people who actually care, Cruises It makes booking simpler, cheaper, and a whole lot less stressful. So click the link in the description below or call the number on the screen and tell them Evan from Family at Sea sent you. You'll be glad you did. One thing I definitely didn't expect before our first Alaska cruise was how early some of the best moments happen. On most cruises, sleeping in feels like part of the vacation, but Alaska is different. Sunrise sail-ins, glacier viewing, wildlife sightings, and quiet mornings on the deck. Some of the most unforgettable moments in the entire trip happen before a lot of people even wake up. And I learned pretty quickly that if you treat Alaska like a normal sleep late and figure it out later cruise, you're going to miss things. Now, that doesn't mean you need to turn your entire vacation into a military operation and set alarms for 4:30 every morning. But it does mean being intentional. Some mornings, getting up early and stepping outside in the cold for 20 minutes gave us memories that lasted longer than anything we did on board the rest of the day. Because in Alaska, the destination is the entertainment and it doesn't run on your schedule. Before our first Alaska cruise, I thought if a ship said it was going to Juneau or Ketchikan, that was all I really needed to know. But I didn't realize how much the actual dock location could change the experience. Because in Alaska, being in port and being conveniently located in that port are not always the same thing. On our first Alaska cruise aboard the Norwegian Encore, we didn't dock close to town in Juneau or Ketchikan, which meant part of our already limited port time was spent waiting on shuttles and getting back and forth instead of actually exploring Alaska. And when you only have a few hours somewhere, that lost time adds up fast. It's one of those details I barely paid attention to before our trip, but now I think it matters way more than most first-time Alaska cruisers realize. Because in Alaska, being close to town can be the difference between rushing through a port and actually getting to experience it. Cruise ships are designed with warm weather in mind, with wide open pool decks, loungers, and outdoor bars all meant to spread people out. But on an Alaska cruise, most of those spaces are either closed or empty once the cold and rain set in. And I didn't realize before our first cruise how much that changes the feel of the ship. Because once everybody heads inside, the entire population of the ship squeezes into the same handful of indoor venues. And on our first Alaska cruise on the Encore, there were moments where it felt like every seat in every lounge, restaurant, and atrium were already taken. So if you're used to warm weather cruises where the ship feels spacious, Alaska can be a shock. Now that doesn't mean the cruise is ruined, but it does mean you'll want to adjust your expectations and pay a lot more attention to a ship's indoor spaces than you normally would. Or pick a ship better suited for cold weather with a solarium pool and forward-facing observation lounge. Alaska cruising rewards people who are willing to be a little uncomfortable. Prime indoor viewing spots like the observation lounge fill early. And I don't mean at breakfast time early. I'm talking hours before the sun comes up early. On our sailing on the Encore, if you wanted a window seat in the observation lounge on Glacier Bay Day, if you weren't there to stake your claim by 4:30 a.m., well, you were too late. And a number of people slept there overnight just to get the best spots. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't pay thousands of dollars to feel like I'm camping out for concert tickets on vacation. Still, most cruisers do everything they can and they miss much of what's out there because of it. And I almost did as well, because many of the best spots are right there in front of you. They just require a warm blanket on a balcony or perhaps a swimsuit and a dip in a hot tub overlooking the glaciers. You don't need to be reckless about it. You just got to be ready. Because the moments you'll be most likely to remember in Alaska rarely happen from a temperature-controlled room. Most people don't associate Alaska cruises with rough seas until they're halfway through the Gulf of Alaska, wondering why the floor won't stop moving. And before our first cruise, I honestly didn't think much about seasickness either because we'd cruised the Caribbean before with no real issues. But Alaska is different. Between the colder weather, open water, and fast-changing conditions, a calm day can turn into a rough one pretty quickly. And on our first sailing, we saw more than a few people skipping meals and heading back to their cabins early, and well, we nearly joined them. But the good news is, it's usually avoidable if you come prepared. So pack motion sickness patches and Dramamine, ginger chews, or better yet, an Emeterm relief band, because once you already feel sick, you're not going to want to spend the rest of your vacation scrambling to fix it. Alaska is unpredictable, and before our first cruise, I didn't fully appreciate just how quickly plans can fall apart there. We booked what should have been 2 incredible days. The first was a helicopter ride to go dog sledding on a glacier in Juneau that got canceled because of rain. And the next day, we rented a car to drive up the South Klondike Highway in Skagway, but that got cut short by a mudslide that shut the road down halfway up it. And just like that, 2 of our biggest days turned into a scramble for Plan B, except we didn't have one. And in Alaska, that's not rare, it's normal. The scenery is world-class, but so are the weather swings, road closures, and fogged-in ports. So now, when I plan for Alaska, I still hope for the dream excursion, but I just don't expect Alaska to guarantee it, and I've always got a plan B ready, just in case. Alaska doesn't wait for you to grab your camera. You'll be mid-conversation when someone yells, "Whale!" And by the time you turn around, it's already gone. And before our first cruise, I didn't realize how many of the best moments in Alaska happened just like that. A great example was in Juneau. We were just walking through the middle of downtown, not out in the wilderness or some excursion, literally downtown, when Mackenzie, my wife, glanced toward an alley between two buildings as we passed by, and suddenly she froze. And all I heard was, "Evan, there's a bear over there." And I'll be honest, I kind of thought she was seeing things because, like I said, we were literally in the middle of downtown Juneau, but sure enough, up a set of stairs between two buildings was a bear staring back at us. And because I already had my camera ready to go, I got the shot. But other people that rushed to come see what we were seeing didn't, and they missed it. And moments like that only last a few seconds, and if your camera isn't instantly accessible, it's over. So now, whether it's my phone or my actual video camera, I always keep something ready. Because in Alaska, the moments you remember the most usually don't announce themselves first. And a pro tip here, if you use an Android phone like me, just double tap the power button on the side of your phone and it'll instantly pull up your camera. Alaska isn't the kind of trip where everything goes according to plan, and I think that's something I had to learn the hard way. Because here's the reality. There's probably going to be fog in Glacier Bay at some point, and there's a pretty good chance it rains during at least one of your port days. And we had missed excursions, blocked roads, and views that disappeared into the mist. But we also had unforgettable moments we never planned for. A bear walking through Juneau, a sudden break in the clouds at exactly the right time in Glacier Bay, and quiet moments that ended up meaning more than the excursions we stressed over for months. And I realized the people who enjoy Alaska the most usually are not the ones who got perfect weather. They're the ones who know how to adjust when Alaska decides to just do its own thing. Because the magic is still there, even when it doesn't look the way you expected it to. Now look, packing for Alaska isn't about bringing more things. It's about bringing the right things. And the first time I went, well, I didn't. I was cold when I wanted to be outside. I was wet when I should have been warm. And every time I missed a moment, I kept thinking the same thing. I didn't pack for this. And here's the bad news. Even if you've cruised before, Alaska will challenge everything you think you need. But the good news, I made an entire video that walks you through exactly what to pack and what you'll wish you had when you're standing in front of a glacier with frozen fingers. So don't stop here. Watch that one next, where I show you everything you need for your Alaska cruise, from layers to gear to the one item no one told us about. It's all there. If you want to get this part right, that video is waiting. I'll see you over there. If you're ready, I am. Let's go.